Good evening and welcome back to another episode of The Longing. Today we are going to be continuing and finishing the Aesop's Fables book that we've been reading, at which point we'll do a quick bit of a time reversal in preparation and then go and look for more paper, more than likely, unless we particularly find a book that we want to read today. So, let's get started. The Swallow and the Crow. A swallow was once boasting to a crow about her birth. "I was once a princess," said she, "the daughter of a king of Athens, but my husband used me cruelly and cut out my tongue for a slight fault. Then, to protect me from further injury, I was turned by Juno into a bird." "You chatter quite enough as it is," said the crow. "What you would have been like if you hadn't lost your tongue, I can't think." The Hunter and the Horseman. A hunter went out after game, and succeeded in catching a hare, which he was carrying home with him when he met a man on horseback, who said to him, "You have had some sport, I see, sir," and offered to buy it. The hunter readily agreed, but the horseman had no sooner got the hare in his hands than he set spurs to his horse and went off at full gallop. The hunter ran after him for some little distance, but it soon dawned upon him that he had been tricked, and he gave up trying to overtake the horseman, and, to save his face, called after him as loud as he could, "All right, sir, all right. Take your hare. It was meant all along as a present." The Goatherd and the Wild Goats. A goatherd was tending his goats out at pasture when he saw a number of wild goats approach and mingle with his flock. At the end of the day he drove them home and put them all into the pen together. Next day the weather was so bad that he could not take them out as usual, so he kept them at home in the pen and fed them there. He only gave his own goats enough food to keep them from starving, but he gave the wild goats as much as they could eat and more, for he was very anxious for them to stay, and he thought that if he fed them well, they wouldn't want to leave him. When the weather improved, he took them all out to pasture again, but no sooner had he got near the hills than the wild goats broke away from the flock and scampered off. The goatherd was very much disgusted at this, and roundly abused them for their ingratitude. "Rascals," he cried, "to run away like that after the way I've treated you." Hearing this, one of them turned round and said, "Oh yes, you treated us all right. Too well, in fact. It was just that put us on our guard. If you treat newcomers like ourselves so much better than your own flock, it's more than likely that, if another lot of strange goats joined yours, we should then be neglected in favour of the last comers." The Nightingale and the Swallow. A swallow, conversing with a nightingale, advised her to quit the leafy coverts where she made her home, and to come and live with men like herself, and nest under the shelter of their roofs. But the nightingale replied, "Time was when I, too, like yourself, lived among men. But the memory of the cruel wrongs I then suffered makes them hateful to me, and never again will I approach their dwellings. The scene of past suffering revives painful memories." The Traveller and Fortune. A traveller, exhausted with fatigue after a long journey, sank down at the very brink of a deep well, and presently fell asleep. He was within an ace of falling in, when Dame Fortune appeared to him and touched him on the shoulder, cautioning him to move further away. "Wake up, good sir, I pray you," she said. "Had you fallen into the well, the blame would have been thrown not on your own folly, but on me, Fortune." End. This one is missing the story of the Shade and the King. A shade? Wait, hang on, what? This one is missing the story of the Shade and the King. A shade. Huh. Is that the one from... No, which one was it? There was one, Poems 2. So is it this one that's referring to? Or is there another hidden book somewhere? Interesting. Very interesting. Yes. Well, as far as books go, we're probably going to read Three Tales, The Golden Bird. We're not going to read the Iliad. We can probably read Morella. It's only a short one. Ligeia's fairly short. Pym's a bit long. Hans Pfahl. Kind of tempted by that one. Now, The Time Machine is a film, and I wonder if it's the same one, so we might read that one, and it's not that long. I've read The Secret Garden as a kid. I'm not going to read Monte Cristo. There's too many there. I still need to figure out the Never-Ending Notebook. Poems we'll probably read. Maybe we'll read Wind in the Willows. King Pest, yeah, we'll read that. Dream Days, no, a bit long. Golden Age, probably not. House on the Borderland, no. The Door in the Wall, yeah, it's only short. Sleeper Awakes. It's tempting. I might do a poll about that one. Although it is a very long one. In the Fog, we'll read that one later. It's only one page. I could do it now, but I'm not going to. And then we're probably not going to do this one. So, let's quickly do a bit of time reversion, shall we? So there are still some books that we are going to read, all things considered. At least read before we do Wake the King. So for now we're just going to prioritize reversing time a little bit. I'll have to make a list somewhere so that I remember which books we're actually going to read. Because honestly, even though I've just been through it, I've already forgotten which ones I decided I was going to read. Before we waken the king. We've nearly made it back to the earliest point we can take it. Yeah, there we go. Let's do one last quick one. We don't need much to get this back to where it can go to at the most. And there we go, fully back. So we don't really have time to do anything else today, because drawing a picture would take us too long at this point. We don't have time to read a book. That's about it, really. We've still got plenty of drawings to do. We definitely wouldn't make it to the caves. That much is for certain. So, yeah, no, we'll just head back and sit down. But we are ever so slowly getting closer and closer to the end. I have no idea how long we're actually going to keep going for. I haven't planned that far ahead. But we are already on day, what, 447, I think is the day? I think yesterday was 446. My memory isn't great. But considering I only started this series in an attempt to get me making YouTube videos, or get into the habit at least of making videos, it's done quite well. I was intending to just do the 400 days and leave it there, but I kind of got engrossed in some of the stories and continued them on. So we'll see how long that continues, really. But anyway, thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, or night. No matter what time of day it is, I hope you all have a wonderful one of it. And as always, we will be back tomorrow for more of The Longing. Goodbye.